The following episode was recorded in front of a live streaming audience on Sunday, April the 26th, 2026.
You know who you are? Steeven is my name. Even Steeven.
Will you say something, Steeven?
Steeven Orhouse Media.
You're listening to the Comic Book Super Show, and this is episode number 4, Rebirth. Hello and welcome to the Comic Book Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steeven, and 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host, Mr. Ed Moore. Ed, how you doing?
Pretty good. I'm playing with the light here because it looked like I was kind of fuzzing out there for a minute because the light was so bright. I sit facing a window, so
I got a window to that side, so sometimes it'll go bright and then darken and then bright.
Trying to adjust. What are you doing?
Which I always associate to remember way back in the day when people first started trying to record dual videotape decks, like you're like trying to hook up 2 different VCRs to record off of a movie you maybe rented and put it on your own tape. And if it was coded in some way, it would do that. The brightness would go in and out on the recorded version. So it's like, crap.
Yep. So that was a way to keep you from doing that.
Yeah. So when I see that, when we're live streaming, I'm like, uh-oh, something's wrong. The
there you go.
FBI and Interpol is going to come get me.
You never know, man.
Yeah, you never know.
Cash or ICE or MAGA or whatever these other, 4-letter words are.
Right.
There seems to be, well, ICE isn't 4, but there seems to be a lot of them. Acronyms and
Yeah.
People don't have, there are no Johnsons or Washingtons or Penobscots or, anymore. It's all these short names. Well, Kennedy, that's a longer one now that I think about it.
Yeah.
He's kind of a disgrace to the rest of his family, but that's his name. Sorry. That's more than just my opinion for all those listening. Apparently, it's a lot of people's opinion,
I think it's
perhaps even members of his family. So
that's right. It might be fact at this point.
If the family says that, then I would have to say, that's probably fact.
Yeah. What's is it warming up in your area of the woods?
Yeah, definitely. It's been hitting probably, I think one day this week it even hit 80s, which was fortunately very brief because that's not fat boy temps there. That's 60s, 70s, low to mid 70s is, or at least that's this fat boy's temp. So anything beyond that and it starts to get out of the way until in the 80s and above, that's just oppressive. And it's like, I don't want to do anything. I just sit here and So. Yeah, that's kind of how we've been. It's more mid to upper 70s. And then it drops down to like low 50s, mid 40s at night. Yeah. So the air conditioner is almost too much at that point. So, yeah. We have had in the middle of all that, we've had a couple hard frosts at night, which is kind of weird, that it'll drop into the 20s and it'll be in the 70s the next day. And I'm like, whew. And that's got to be hard on something to be out there in that kind of temperatures.
I've got a lawn mowing adventure story to tell you that's not really much of an adventure. We went to Colorado last week, and I know I've complained before about the weather in this area where this time of year it'll rain for days and days and days, and the grass will just shoot up. And then by the time it starts to dry just enough to go out there and start mowing, it starts raining again. And, before you know it, the grass is past your ankles and it's a real pain in the butt to mow. Well, just before it had been raining for a couple of days, just before we left for Colorado. And I knew that I wasn't going to get a chance to mow before we left. And of course we left, we get back, it's nice and everything's dry. But of course, all the houses around us, their lawns are mowed. They mowed while we were gone.
Yeah, that's right.
But now ours looks super. I mean, it was already tall, but it looks even taller when everybody else around you is mowed. Yep. And so I was like, all right, I'll get the mower out and see what I could do. And the battery, because it's a battery powered, it's an electric mower, and I just have the one battery, just dead, completely dead. It gave me about 20 minutes. So I got started. And then the battery died. I plugged it in, and 24 hours later, it still wasn't charged. It was flashing the red light, which means it's dead. So I was like, crap, what am I going to do? and none of the hardware stores in town carried these batteries. So I had to order one from the manufacturer. Did that on Monday last week. Wasn't going to be until Friday. And so I'm looking at this lawn and I'm like, I cannot wait an entire week to mow this lawn. It's just going to get longer and longer, taller and taller. And Thursday it's going to storm. So I did all right. For those of you watching the video, this is one of the batteries.
Okay.
I bought a weed eater, a trimmer. Same company. They use the trimmer uses a 40-volt battery as well, but with 2.0 AH. I don't know what that means. My mower, 40-volt battery, 5.0 AH, but I thought I need a trimmer anyway. I've been needing a trimmer for a while. Go buy the trimmer. We'll just see if the batteries work in the mower, and thank God they did. They only work for about 15 minutes, and then it takes about an hour to charge them back up because they're not quite powerful enough for that mower,
right.
But I got it done.
Yeah, I think typically in things like that, the amps is the indicator of how much work that battery will actually do. The voltage does play some part, a 40 as opposed to a 10 volt or what have you.
Yeah.
But I believe AH stands for maybe amp hours. Maybe I know the A is amperes, amps.
Yeah.
So that's usually the ability to do work. So the more strenuous the work, the higher the amp hours or the amps, or the faster that you will eat up a battery that doesn't have the required number of amps. So
yeah. But the new battery came in. FedEx actually put it on the wrong porch, put it on somebody else's porch.
There we go. Okay.
Luckily, they were right next door and nobody's actually living there at the moment. So I just walked over and grabbed it off the porch.
Yep. There you go.
Brought it home. So yeah, that was my week. Just mowing, which I hate.
I remember those days. It's gotten to the point where the wife and I have a couple friends that we encourage monetarily to mow our lawn for us. Yeah.
Yeah, starting out this spring so far, the lawn wasn't. There's stuff I need to do and pick up and move around. I do want to just start hiring somebody once a week to come and mow. That would make me so happy. But there's stuff I have to clean up in the yard first.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. All right. Anything else you want to banter about?
No, I don't think so.
If you're watching live, and I'm showing 2 at the moment, and you're watching on,
we see you, sort of.
I'm watching now. I can't.
Although we know that you see us if you're watching, so we know that.
Yeah, we're sorry that you can see me. If you're watching on YouTube, jump in the comments, make yourself known, holler, say hi. We'll say hi back, probably. I don't know. We might miss it. Bill from Long Island. He says ... Okay,
that is international a symbol for there. Or here, whichever. Yeah.
Actually, I think that's passive aggressive for get on with it.
Is that what? Okay. dot.
Let's get moving.
Okay.
All right. Well, today we're looking at Kitty Pryde and Wolverine #4 from Marvel Comics. This issue sports a cover date of February 1985, though it hit the stands in November of 1984. It sold for just 75 cents, and it is entitled Rebirth. It was written by Chris Claremont, with art by Al Milgrom. The letters were by Joe Rosen, and the colorist was Glynis Wein. Immediately following the events of the previous issue, Yukio transports the injured Wolverine, the brainwashed Kitty, and Kitty's father Carmen to the Yashida stronghold for a bit of R&R. When Kitty awakens, she is at first her normal self, remembering nothing until Logan makes her. He explains and shows her that Ogun, in effect, created a copy of his own personality inside her that will eventually take over. Still weak himself, Logan begins to train Kitty to stand up to Ogun's mind warp and to Ogun himself. The two then have a shock when Professor X calls to tell them that Wolverine's friend James McDonald Hudson, leader of Alpha Flight, is dead, and that their teammate Storm has lost her powers. Nevertheless, Logan still tries to press Kitty on, to the point where she realizes it's all a matter of her willpower. Finally, she succeeds, but then decides to return to the States to ask Professor X to help her erase Ogun's influence. Before she boards the plane, however, she realizes that she must face Ogun and decides to fly back to Tokyo instead. Ed, what'd you think of this one?
I enjoyed it. It was definitely the character development chapter of the story. There was a little bit of action there in the first third of the story, so a little bit. But most of it was Kitty primarily, but also we're seeing some about Wolverine also. I mean, Wolverine is still fairly new as far as a character to us, the readers. So he still has a lot of character to develop, if you will. I mean, there's still a lot of gaps in his character, a lot of things we don't know. A little bit about Yukio we see. Raises some interesting questions if you're not familiar with why they're at the Yoshida residence, which you would have to have been following probably Wolverine's side of the story, or his story a little bit, to understand why. I'm still not 100% sure why reading this, but
yeah, he mentions something. We'll get to it. He gives like a throwaway comment that's like, oh, well, that's why, but then why is that? So we're definitely starting to get into some aspects in this story where, in order to fully understand things that are going on or things that are said or whatnot, if you were more versed in Wolverine's side of the Marvel Universe, you would have most of those answers. Kitty is being kind of injected into Wolverine's world, so anything you read about Kitty, you're pretty much caught up on. So other than, maybe brand new people, if this was their only exposure to Wolverine, they may have more questions, definitely after this fourth issue, than they have up to now. Yeah. Not major questions. I don't think the questions will take away from this story at all, but it would certainly make you want to dig to find those answers, which I know a lot of younger readers in comic books nowadays don't believe in that, but that used to be how we did things. We would read references. We would just go and pick up a book. This is where we want to start. We didn't get online and whine to people, oh, I want to read, where do I start? No, we would go and pick up a book and we would read it. It would have some references. The narrator sometimes would drop hints of other places, but we would know, okay, so this is not the beginning of anything, the characters, this story, whatever. So I need the issue before this. So I would go back to where I bought that issue and look and see. Chances are, typically, you could find 3 or 4 issues at a time where you got the comic book, just depending. Yeah. They would still be on the shelf or the spinner rack or whatever, so we could catch up a little bit. Then you would do this nifty thing called looking at the ads in the book and find somebody that was selling back issues, and you would buy however many back issues at like $1 a piece. Ooh. And that's how you got caught up, and you kept doing that and going farther back, paying a little bit more, and farther back and paying until you had the entire run of the book and you were caught up and you knew everything that had happened. That was the way we graybeards did it in the olden days. Yep. We didn't have the benefit of us that we could whine to on the internet. We would just fill in all the holes with a keyboard. Right. No, we had to do legwork and find the books and read the books. And and for those of you that already know that, I apologize. Let me step off yet another pulpit here that I've stood on that is constantly, I'm on Reddit a lot, just cruising, I guess, lurking would be the term. And 5 to 10 posts a day on the comic book threads I read is, I'm interested in so-and-so, where do I start? And I always just want to say, the beginning. The beginning. Just find a book.
What do you mean? What you're saying is, I have questions and I want you to give me the answers. I don't want to work for the answers. That's what your question is, not where do I start? So that's just always annoyed me, because us, particularly people our age, that is exactly what we did. We saw a book, we read it, we liked it, and then we started hunting the issues that came before. Yeah. That was what you did. So that's how it was done. By and large, if you're really interested in books nowadays, it's still the same technique that you use. It's still the same method. You just have to be not lazy enough to do it. Find the book, pay the money, which I understand is getting to be an issue nowadays. But you can wait for trades. You can hook up with buddies that are selling issues. You can go to different online marketplaces and whatnots, and you can find books for cheap.
Yep.
But you have to work for it. Sorry, that's, you can't just clock in for 3 hours and clock out and be done with your day. It's, it's a little bit more involved. So anyways, I enjoyed it. Threw some things out that, particularly if you follow Wolverine, you'll hear referenced for like the rest of his time. I mean, stuff will come up.
Bill from Long Island says, typical Reddit post. I really want to get into Dr. Fate. Where should I start? Those posts, I'm just like, okay. See, now, here's the thing. For me, if I see something like that and it's a character maybe or a book that I'm really into, I might go ahead and jump on and go, ooh, this is what you need to read. This is some great stuff. If it's a character, Dr. Fate, I like Dr. Fate, but I don't have a lot of, I think at that point I'd be like, I don't know, find a number one issue and just start reading, Right. But if it's something I'm really excited about, I might jump in there and be all like, here's what you need, blah, 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 blah.
Okay. But, and I that's what a lot of people do, particularly with long characters, say Superman and Batman,
Yeah.
And the issue I have with that is that even though I may know, I am not going to help someone cherry pick. You need to work your way through all the shitty stories just like I have done. That way, when you get to the cherries and you pick them, you will appreciate them as the way they should be. Because I don't want to hear you read some killer story about a character and then somebody reference something that, out of the Golden Age, and you trash the Golden Age because you read the good stuff beforehand. No. Start at the beginning, read as the character develops, as people learn how to write the character. Then when you read something good, it will be good. And more importantly, you'll know why it's good because you read all this other crap before. And it's like, no, this is good. They know how to handle this character. That's
Bill from Long Island points out that there are reading order lists that are readily available online. They're all over the place.
Absolutely. And speaking of reading order lists, I've noticed over the past, 10 or 15 years, when I look for a reading order list, I want an issue list. Okay. Doesn't have to be every appearance, but I want a list of issues.
Yeah.
Nowadays, the reading order lists are trades and omnis. And I'm like, no, that's not what I want because that leaves stuff out. That's not a true reading order. That's almost a cherry pick.
Yeah. Plus certain trades, depending on the publisher, depending on what they're putting together, they may, for example, I was looking for the reading order of the Clone Saga, Spider-Man from the 90s. And if you go by, for example, if you go to the Marvel app and you go by their reading order, they've ordered it. It's not in date of publication because there were some issues that came out like even 5 years after that were still tell a bit of of the beginning. And so they say, read these first. And it's like, I want to read them in publishing order.
Right. As they occurred. Yeah. That way. Yeah.
There's no guarantee you're going to get them in publishing order if you're reading them through the trades is the thing. Because even like I said, like with that, the Clone Saga, there were certain trades, like there was an omnibus edition that had the same reading order that was on the app. So it had them out of publishing order. And that's
right. Yeah. Sometimes the mapping in those things gets kind of weird. And even weirder is when they will, for whatever reason, truly leave out a complete book that should be in there. And it's like, why did you leave that out of your trade? And, now I'll buy the trade. I want to read it and but now I have to try to find this book because I can see in your coverage, it's, 564 issue and then 566. It's, well, where's 565? So then I have to hunt that one issue. And if you look at sometime just go look at the trades of the Conan run when Dark Horse had Conan, because there's a point there after like the third or fourth trade that they're just all out of order. There's big chunks that they don't put in certain trades, and then they put them in a different trade. It's weird. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's weird. But this issue, it did give us a bit. It told us what the connection between Wolverine and Ogun is. Mm-hmm. They didn't go into a lot of detail. I had went online this morning to get information about Ogun, and I was gonna maybe kind of since we got what we got in this issue, I was going to do like here's what we know about Ogun. And because most of the information as I'm reading through his origin, everything that the website was telling me is all stuff that we're not going to find out until years later in the main, when the Wolverine series comes out. It's like issue 113 or something is when Ogun shows back up again. But I did find out as I was going through, we're going to learn a little bit more in the next issue. So I'm going to save it to next episode.
Okay.
But something to look forward to. All right. Anything else before you take us through this sucker?
No, not at all.
Let's do it.
Let's start looking at the cover here. As you can see, we have an image of Wolverine. Looks like he is something. I mean, if just looking at this image, you can't quite tell what is going on. Once you read the story, this is a walking stick, in essence, that Wolverine has, because he's moving around in this issue as he is healing from what happened last issue. So this is a walking stick that he is using to get around. That's what this staff is.
See, I was wondering why he was pole dancing.
Okay, well, I don't know if that little skinny pole could support his big adamantium ass.
We don't know what it's made of on the cover. It goes to the top of the
I guess
of the
it could
cover.
Be adamantium
we don't know what it's
also,
attached to.
Yeah, okay.
He's like, like Jim Kata, the martial arts that incorporates gymnastics. He does martial arts that incorporates pole dancing. So he's at the most dangerous when he's at a strip club or like on a party bus.
When he has like a trapeze or poles or
only poles, trapeze. He doesn't really do the trapeze. It's just the pole.
Okay, all right.
Swings around, claws out.
You can see he is pole dancing. 200 years is a long time to live. Well, yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I'm not down in Wolverine if he is an expert pole dancer. I mean,
that's a comment from Bill from Long Island.
He can always go to Madripoor and make money. If times get tough. I mean, he is in uniform. He is in the brown and tan uniform that we know Wolverine at the time. Yeah, that is the Wolverine uniform. This is my Wolverine.
Mine too.
Yeah, if we're going to use that kind of phraseology, this is in front of him is Kitty. As you can see, she's kneeling. She's definitely dressed down, and she is holding outstretched. For those of you that can't see the picture, she's holding outstretched both of her arms, a sword in front of her. The sword, she's holding the sword parallel to the ground. This is not just a physical test, which. If you've anybody that's ever worked out and done anything like this, it's amazing how long you cannot hold a weight out with your arms fully extended before you really tire out. It's kind of embarrassing, really. But it's also, as it's depicted in the story, it's also a spiritual test. And because if you are of a certain spirit, that spirit allows you to surpass your body's limitations and hold the weight of this sword. Now, these swords aren't profoundly heavy. So, I mean, it's not like she's holding up 50 pounds like this or anything like that.
Sometimes just hold your arms out in front of you and just see how long you can sit there like that. It's not as long as you think.
Nope. Like I said, it's kind of embarrassing. With everything else, you can bend down and lift this and lift that. And it's like, okay, well, take what you did and just hold in your hand and hold your arm straight out. And how long can you? Not very long at all.
Yeah. That's, your body's not really made for that. That's why we tuck everything in and hold it close to the body.
Tight.
Because it helps with the leverage.
Yep. Yeah. So, this is, there is a scene several times in the story of Kitty Pryde attempting to do this with the sword. I don't really know that there is a scene with Wolverine, definitely not with him in uniform, leaning on his walking staff behind her as she does this. So this is kind of a juxtaposed concept. The Wolverine that we're seeing that is healing and is helping her in the story, and Kitty as she is being helped by Wolverine in the story. Kind of the two storylines are mashed up here on this image. Nice cover. Not necessarily as fetching or as eye-catching as other covers would be. Very little action. if any action. I mean, if you don't know who this girl is, then, that's the question. Who is this? She's got a sword. Why is she holding a sword? Why is Wolverine just standing there looking at her? What's he holding? So I mean, it evokes a lot of questions, just the image itself. So.
Yeah, I would have liked to. I understand why they put him in his uniform on the cover. Makes sense. Why wouldn't they? Wolverine. Wolverine wasn't the seller like he was in the 90s. When you get to the 90s, you stick Wolverine on a color. You're on a cover. You're gonna sell that book. You could
just put the word on there and people would buy it.
But I would have liked to have seen him in the robes instead that he was wearing. Because it gives it more of a convalescence type of look. Especially if he just had if he was supporting himself with just one arm and then his other hand was maybe holding himself where she stabbed him, maybe you could see the bandages, see the blood kind of seeping through a little. That would have given more of a sense that he's injured. This, like you said, you don't really understand exactly what he's doing there behind her. You don't get unless of course you've read these first few issues, you don't get the sense that he's injured and he's holding himself up by this walking stick.
I wonder if this is the case of direction for what to put on the cover having come before the writing and artwork that went into the book itself.
Yeah.
Because they match to a point, but it's not as strictly as maybe you would like to,
Be interesting to know, if you ever talked to Al Milgram, did you do the 6 covers before you did the issues? Did you know, it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah. All right, we go on, and the very first page is a monogram model. We open up, and we are in a red, is it convertible? No, a red sports car, tooling through the mountains in Japan in the midst of a rather vicious rainstorm. According to one of the occupants in the car, which we, on the first page, we don't know. We don't necessarily know who any of the occupants are. We see probably just one person talking because he's getting more and more annoyed. And were I in the car, he is getting more and more annoying as a passenger as well. But the car is whipping, and it's the type of road that I know we've all seen, at least in media. I don't know that I've personally ever traveled a road like this, but in media, you have a road that twines up a mountain, right? You're going to the top. And one side of the road is the mountain itself. The other side of the road ends falling off the mountain. And that's all there is. It's almost like it's a track rather than a road. You either hit the mountain or you go off the mountain. That's all you can do. And the driver is hitting these roads too quickly for one of the passengers, given the environmental circumstances, the raging storm that's outside. Now we see maybe a little slishing and sliding in one of the panels. The headlights are on, so it's not like they're any thrill-seeking kind of ride. Apparently, they're moving quickly to get to a point, and anything else is just what they're having to deal with to get to the point they're going as quickly as they can. That's the way I read it. I don't read that it's unnecessarily reckless. I read that it's reckless because of intent.
Because of an emergency,
Yeah. So here we get all the bona fides of who created the book for us. Moving on, we have several panels. We see who's inside, 4 passengers inside the car. Recognize Kitty right off the bat. She's unconscious. Looking at it, maybe something else is going on. Maybe you can tell, maybe you can't. It's kind of obscured because we're looking through the front windshield. And again, there's a raging storm all around the car, and it affects a little bit what we can see if we were truly standing outside looking through the windshield of the car. So it's slightly obscured. There's Kitty and somebody behind her. There's another guy in the back talking. So based on what we saw last issue, the talking dude is probably not Wolverine, because Wolverine got pretty messed up. So we'll go ahead and bet that the dude behind Kitty, who seems to be unconscious, is Wolverine. And then in front of the dude running his mouth is Yukio. You can pretty well recognize her. So thinking back to last issue, we've got Yukio, we've got Kitty, we've got Wolverine. The dude is Kitty's father. He's in the car with him, and he's the one running his mouth. Next, we do see a better indication that the 2 gentlemen are Kitty's father and Wolverine in the back, although Wolverine does appear to be conscious, but perhaps just not choosing to speak because he is so messed up. He's not. Yeah. He seems conscious, but he's not speaking.
The Comic Book Show will return after these messages.
Hi, I'm Eric, host of the Long Box Review podcast. I love comic books so much that I started Long Box Review to celebrate my love for them and connect with others who share my passion. Each month, I critique the comics I've read and present other topics, such as spotlights on specific issues, my comics history, the Legion Project with Peter Rios, where we discuss the Legion of Superheroes, and so much more. Additionally, the Long Box Review podcast feed includes The Gutters, my audio journal, and Center Seat, my Star Trek podcast. The Long Box Review website also examines comic books outside of the podcast, such as the series 52, Justice, and others. Please join me as I celebrate nearly 50 years of comic book reading and over 15 years of podcasting. You can visit longboxreview.com for more information. And thanks for listening.
Are you looking for a podcast that dives into the very beginnings of the Man of Steel? Then check out the Superman Super Show. My name is Steeven, and along with Ed Moore, we're just a couple of guys separated by 1,000 miles of geography who like to read comics. Now, we don't claim to be experts on Superman or the golden age of comics, but we're on a mission to read every single Superman story from his earliest adventures, one comic book at a time. And each episode will take you back to the golden age where Superman's journey began. From his first leaps over tall buildings to battling mad scientists and mobsters, we break down every story, sharing our thoughts, insights, and laughs along the way. New episodes drop every 2 weeks. So whether you're a longtime Superman fan or just curious about his roots, we invite you to join us on this incredible journey through comic book history. Find the Superman Super Show wherever you listen to podcasts and start exploring the golden age of Superman with us today. And now, back to the Comic Book Show.
Carmen points out that Logan is very pale. He's lost a lot of blood. The bandages that they improvised don't seem to be doing any good. He's afraid that Wolverine is literally dying right there next to him, and he wants her to go to a hospital. He doesn't understand why are we out here on this mountain road? Where are we going?
Well, maybe she's going to a hospital.
Yeah.
I mean, if she hasn't told him, then he's making the assumption that she's not. Maybe she is. Maybe it's a special hospital for people like Wolverine, because Carmen, at this point, definitely has to understand that Wolverine is different.
You think?
I think he understands that Kitty is different by now. I think maybe their fight. I'm not sure that he knows 100% that Kitty is a mutant, but I think he does. So finally, Yukio, however long this has been going on, she has enough. He focuses his attention on Wolverine, then focuses his attention talking about Kitty, his daughter, disparagingly, angrily, what have you. Yukio's had enough. Her nerves are on end, and she is attempting to do something to fix this issue that he is bitching about. So in the midst of all this, she screeches to a halt as she is the driver, jerks Carmen out of the car, and threatens to throw him off the side of the mountain if he doesn't shut up. She really doesn't tell him, what she's doing or try to explain anything.
Yeah.
She just indicates, look, I've had enough of your mouth. Be quiet or else. As they're getting back in the car, Kitty, either having feigned being unconscious or truly just wakes up enough that she's able to phase out of the bonds that Yukio has her on. So that's what was kind of weird about that very first panel. Kitty, her arms were bound by rope. Maybe looked like that in that first panel, maybe not. It was kind of fishy as far as what was going on.
She was either tied up or she was praying.
Yeah. Well, she is Jewish.
Most people don't pray like this. They pray like this.
Well, yeah. Well, but look, I'm not gonna.
I pray like this.
Shame. It's hey.
Please help me, Lord.
If you know somebody that can help you and you pray to them, more power to you. That's right. So Kitty takes off, but she's not doing too well. She still is kind of messed up because she was drugged by Yukio, which she has to be, because all she has to do is phase out of whatever retaining method that Yukio tries to do. So the only thing that will keep Kitty submitted in submission is if she's unconscious. I mean, that's the only way. So either you drug her or you knock her the F out. That's all you can do. If she's conscious, she can phase in and out of whatever. There is no way that you would truly be able to capture her unless you can render her unconscious some way.
Yep.
Now, interestingly enough, at this point in her career, and as we're reading this, right now, if you would read a book, I'm not 100% sure of the situation. But as you were reading this mini-series, Kitty Pryde is corporeal. You can touch her. She has to concentrate to become phased so that she can move between the atoms of other matter. Here, several years from now, she gets injured in such a way that when she recovers, that is reversed. If she's awake, she is ghost-like and incorporeal. She has to concentrate to maintain her physicalness, her rigidity. If she doesn't, her atoms will continue to spread, and she will just poof away like smoke if she doesn't do anything.
That sucks.
So she has to constantly think about being solid in order to walk around and eat and what have you, where she has to touch something.
Yeah.
And then, like I say, right now, if you read about the character, I'm not sure if that is still the case or if her abilities have reverted back to the way they originally were. But that was kind of an interesting time, because as a character, what she would do inside her mind in order to be able to do certain things with her powers wouldn't work there for a while, because in essence her powers were reversed. So she had to think of how to do it the other way in order for her to stay corporeal and then phase or what have you. So that was a curious change they made in the character, that they reversed her the switch for her powers, I guess you would say. But so she's running around trying to get away from Yukio. We're getting a little bit of flashback to her and Wolverine fighting last issue. Yukio finally gets her. We see some more flashback to the previous issue. We have an Oreos, we have an Oreos ad here with a picture that you can color. This is a black and white line, so you can actually color this one. Finally, we get an indication of how fly by the seat of her pants is the only phrase I can think of that Yukio is in her behavior, and that is an aspect of this character that we have always known from her. It just hasn't come up too much in this story. It was definitely used in the X-Men, because before this story, before the beginning of this, where we heard that Storm had lost her powers.
Mm-hmm.
Storm had been in Japan and had, she'd gone through a crisis of conscience and had taken on aspects of Yukio's personality. And so she became a lot more carefree than the worshipful goddess, I must always present that she had been from the time she first appeared up until that point. She went to Tokyo, I think, looking for Wolverine, and ran into Yukio, and Yukio helped her. Basically, the change in Storm's personality was be who you want to be, not who you think other people want you to be, but be who you want to be. Because that's the way Yukio does. She just does whatever she wants to, what she thinks is going to work. In this case, she's fighting Kitty in a raging storm. Kitty can phase and cannot phase. I mean, her consciousness is wavering. So Yukio throws some darts at her that are laced with sedative, and then to deliver the coup de grace to the groggy Kitty, now Yukio jumps off the edge of the mountain, just out into space, hoping that the storm is severe enough that a gust of wind will blow her back towards Kitty, and she can kick Kitty in the back and knock her out. That's what happens, of course. It would be pretty bad form for them to write Yukio just jumping off the side of a mountain and never coming back. Just Yeah, just falling like Wile E. Coyote or something like that.
Have you ever seen the movie The Other Guys with Mark Wahlberg and Will Ferrell? Is that his name?
I don't think
the
so.
Funny
Yeah,
guy?
Will Ferrell. Yeah, no, I don't think so.
They're basically cops, and they're like not the popular hero cops. That's played by The Rock and Samuel L. Jackson. They're the other guys, right? But there's a moment at the beginning of the movie because they have to get rid of the super cops, and the way they do it is they're chasing bad guys. They're up on a building. The bad guys zip line down to the ground, and then cut the line. And they're like, let's just jump on down there and get them. We just land right in that bush right over there. But they're like 20 stories up, and they decide to jump. And of course, it's this long, slow motion with very dramatic, I believe I can fly type of music as they're just dropping, and then they just die. And you're just like, what the hell? It's really funny. That's what you just said made me think of that. Okay. I do want to point out here the thing I like about this page and the previous page. They're mixing in the past, basically what happened between the previous issue and this issue. They're mixing that in with what's going on now. So the blades, those panels are in this really thick black outline. Those are the past, and then the regular panels are the present. I really like that. I think that's really cool. It was confusing at first, especially as a little kid.
Well, yeah, definitely. Yeah. If you don't know any of the tropies or way that comic books are done. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. I apologize. She, excuse me, she used the anesthetized darts previously to put Kitty under, not as part of this fight. This fight was just beating on Kitty and then just leaping off and hoping that you come back. So
yeah, and I think they justify it on both times. They try to justify how she's able to stick her with these knives the first time to drug her, and she does it. I think she explains it at the moment that Kitty sticks Wolverine is when she throws the knives, thinking that at that moment Kitty Pryde's not going to be paying attention to anything else, and so she doesn't know they're coming, and that's why they stick her. And then I guess here in the present, it's just that she hasn't come out of she's still groggy. Mm-hmm. She can phase, she can fight. She's still dangerous because I think Yukio points out that she still has the skill of Ogun, but she's still kind of groggy. And I think that's why she's able to just eventually kick her in the head and knock her out.
She's closer to human than being metahuman as far as her fighting ability.
Yeah.
Drugged, not fully conscious and everything like that.
Yeah.
Finally, Yukio is able to knock her out. Drags her back to the car, and we find out where they're going. I cannot pronounce that first word for the life of me. The N and the M together, they really throw me off.
Yeah, I did this earlier. Osanmiyaku?
Could be. Yeah.
Osanmiyaku?
ANMY is in the middle of that, is really messing with me as I get all those sounds out of my mouth.
Yeah.
But it turns out that is, I believe that's the name for a geologic or geographic place that is the mountain spine, the top of the mountain that run through northern Honshu. More importantly, at the top of the mountain here is the ancestral stronghold of the Yoshida clan. The Yoshida clan is the reason that Wolverine, for the past however long, has come to Japan. Now, he came to Japan before that and did other stuff, but he has gotten involved with one of the daughters of the clan Yoshida, and that's what keeps bringing him, and that's...
Is that Mariko? Mariko or...
Yes.
Mariko?
That's where his... and actually, the Silver Samurai is part of the same clan also.
Yeah, that's right. He's related.
That's typically why Wolverine comes to Japan now. This time, it's not why he was in Japan, but the reason he's here is because Yukio, I don't know if she really has a connection with Clan Yoshida or if she knows that Wolverine does.
Yeah.
Wolverine needs help, and I know these people of anybody in Japan will help Wolverine because of that connection.
Sure. So I'm sure it's that one.
Yeah, I believe they may know each other, Yukio and members of the Clan Yoshida, but I don't know that Yukio has ever worked for them or with them or anything like that. So I don't think there's any kind of that.
Yeah,
connection.
She doesn't seem like the type of person who would put her loyalty behind one.
No.
It's like, yeah.
Her loyalty, I think, pretty obviously lies within herself. That's who she's loyal to.
Yeah. She's not necessarily chasing the money. It's just whatever the adventure is more for her, I think, than anything else.
The adventure, and she does have a sense of right and wrong. Might be different from other people's right and wrong. But so she always tries to fight right.
Yeah.
And always tries to fight the most exciting thing that she can find to do at the time. Yeah. If the two match up, then cool. If they're two separate things, well, they'll match up eventually anyway. Yeah. So she's very much that 60s denim jacket wearing rebel with a motorcycle kind of image that people had of those types of people anyways. Only it's in the 80s now, so you reflect it a little differently. So they're up here. Wolverine realizes where they are, drags himself out of the car, drags himself into the castle with the giant ass walking stick that we see on the cover. Now, where he had that in the car, I don't know, but he produces it here and uses it to drag himself in.
I'm also curious about his shoulders, because it looks like he's wearing the shoulder pads to his outfit, but he's not wearing a shirt.
Right. Yeah, he's got bandages on, but then there's something else. Yeah.
Maybe part of his shirt is there. It's just
maybe the bandages are bloodied, and it's indistinct.
I think it's just poor coloring in certain areas.
Well, I think also that's part of Al Milgram's style. You know, he's not a Jim Lee or a John Byrne as far as line work. It's a different type of artistry. So Jim Lee, John Byrne, you would have definitely been able to tell, does he have the uniform on or off? Are those bandages? Is it Wolverine? Is it, all of that stuff?
Yeah, based on the panel where he's out of the car and Carmen's going, Wolverine, you're alive. I'm going to guess that he's still wearing the full shirt. It's just the bandages are covering most of it.
Could be. At the time to render first aid, I don't imagine that ripping his uniform off would have been very high on the list that Yukio would have done. So he does have his pants on because we can see his belt buckle here. So
knowing that, she knows that he has that healing ability. So I think she just wanted to stop the bleeding and get him somewhere where he could rest.
Hold everything in place. You don't want to drop anything.
You don't want to spill anything out of him. Yeah.
Right. You want to keep it all. Yeah. Let it knit back together, which it will. Okay. So now we kind of have a time jump onto the next page. Kitty's asleep. I mean, they just got there at the castle, the previous page, and now she's asleep having a nightmare dream kind of she's psychically at rest for whatever this is that's happening. And it involves Ogun. It involves Wolverine. It involves Ogun's influence over her. And it involves what she did to Wolverine because of Ogun's influence. I guess we kind of know by now.
Yeah.
So she wakes up after a couple of drastic panels of what's going on in her mind. She wakes up and bending over her, checking on her, maybe because of reactions that she was physically having while this was going on in her head. Maybe she made a noise, or maybe Wolverine had already been resting in the room with her, waiting for her to wake up, and he noticed and came over. Either way, he's here dressed in more casual Japanese wear. I should know the names of these things. The only name I know is the boots that he's got on, and I believe they're called tabi, T-A-B-I, which is the typical split-toed boot that you will see.
I'd call them ninja boots.
Yeah, I was going to say ninja, but I don't know that they wear them casually.
No,
or
not.
when they're working. But he's got them on.
We'll call them the ninja work boots.
Okay. So this is a normal Kitty now. She's glad to see Wolverine again. She hasn't seen him in a while because Ogun had her for at least a week, I think, and did all this training. And, maybe a day or two more to get her to face off against Wolverine and set all that up. So it's been, a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks since she's actually seen Wolverine.
Yeah, since she's seen him, yes. I think Wolverine states here on the next page or so that she was with Ogun for the better part of a week, I think is the way he puts it.
Yeah, so, and of course, she is getting hints of what she did during that week, particularly the end when she saw Wolverine the last time. But she doesn't necessarily remember full on. So a lot of that is kind of iffy. And so if you don't know a lot of that just doesn't occur. You just put it out of your mind. It doesn't understand, so it didn't happen.
Yep.
And so this is the first time she's seeing Wolverine since before all of that. Glad to see him. Wolverine, you see, is grimacing. He is not in the shape to be overly affectionate. Unfortunately, that's probably bad news to Yukio as well. So he's that's the adult part of the show. Thank you. Come back next week.
Check a wow.
We see Wolverine is getting kind of, and I don't know. Even at the time that I first read this, I wasn't the biggest fan of, from here through pretty much the rest of this issue, the way that Wolverine treated Kitty. Given the type of story, if you've ever read this type of story anywhere else, then in reading this one, you know why the tough Wolverine is here. The reality of the situation in RL, I don't know that this would necessarily be the way that you would want to handle this situation, because you have somebody, they've experienced trauma, and you have a choice as to how you can treat them. They don't necessarily at this point have a choice as to how they're going to act or react, depending on the trauma. So you're walking a razor as far as how they take what you're doing. And the very last thing that you want to do if you're attempting to help them is push them back at the trauma, push them back into the trauma mindset that they may have just now, in Kitty's case, come out of. She woke up now for the first time in a week or 2 weeks, not in that trauma mode. This is the regular. The last thing that I would think that Wolverine wants to do, though maybe it's the way he was treated, maybe it's the way he was brought up, and that's kind of a reference to different generations for us. You know, our parents handled us in a certain way. We have handled our kids in a certain way for reasons related to the way that our parents handled us. So, you know, we make those choices.
And each generation, we all think our way is the best.
Oh, well, yeah.
The older generation was too rough, and the newer generation is too soft. That's
right. That's always the way it is.
That's how it will always be. They do a little later. We'll talk about it when we get to it, but they do have a bit of internal dialogue from Kitty near the end, I think, of the issue, where she, I guess, justifies the way he's been treating her. And we'll get to that when we get there.
Yeah. So here, Wolverine is making a decision. He's going to work to break the programming that Ogun has put on Kitty, I guess, to, I'm not sure exactly how to put that.
Deprogrammer.
We know, we don't know yet, but I'll go ahead and say it. Wolverine is familiar with that program. He knows how that works. Whether it's from Ogun, whether it's from his time with Weapon X, don't necessarily know where, but he understands this. So he knows how to break the programming, and he has made up his mind that that's what he's going to do. She is kind of suffering here as she is regaining more and more of her own consciousness and realizing what happened when she was not in control of her consciousness. And she feels very badly about that because truly, in essence, she kicked Wolverine's ass. That's just the bottom line. Never even remotely would have had a chance of doing that before Ogun. But with Ogun's training and Ogun's indwelling in her, I guess, I think they kind of said that he kind of took over. Yeah. She thoroughly kicked his ass and probably should have killed him. Any number of other people would have been killed. They would not have come back from her.
Yeah, I'm sure that, that is also something she's dealing with, is that once she realizes that she did all the stuff that was in her nightmares, that had Wolverine been just a regular dude, she would have killed him, plain and simple.
So we get a little thing. I guess what they wanted to do is they wanted to introduce some sushi here into the story. Wolverine it's not really pertinent to the story, so they must have been something that Claremont or Milgram wanted to put in. Wolverine asked her if she's hungry. He's got some sushi and some sashimi here that he's eating, and she's like, no, I'm not interested. He continues eating until finally she does come around and realizes that she is hungry enough to eat, and she decides to partake as well. interesting little back and forth. I guess it gives us an opportunity to talk, a setting in which to talk. We hear that she explains why she was in Japan, explains what's going on with her dad, which Wolverine didn't know. He just knew Kitty was in Japan and needed help. That's all he knew. That's basically this.
Yeah, he wants to know how Ogun got involved, and so she explains to him that he was just one of as far as she knew, he was just one of Shigematsu's goons who asked for her as his price, and then that's when Wolverine reveals who Ogun is to him.
Yes, Wolverine tells us that Ogun is his sensei. I would have to think that over the course of his life, Wolverine has had probably multiple sensei. So
yeah. So it makes you wonder if this was his first.
Yeah, this is one of many. And even to now, this is probably one of the more important because Wolverine, even today, still has a lot of these affections for the Oriental way of life, and those story elements are still used for him and against him by writers and everything. So his relationship with Ogun probably is one of the more important relationships for the character of Wolverine, other than his relationship with the dude that was head of Weapon X, which basically made the Wolverine that we see now. Yeah. And this Wolverine here too. He just doesn't know it at this point. This Wolverine has none of the knowledge that we will see in the Marvel Comics Presents story that will be coming up.
Yeah.
So he starts to tell her a story. There's a story people tell of the greatest swordsman in Japanese history, Miyamoto Musashi. This is in reference to Ogun. Apparently Musashi and Ogun met. And at the time that they met, which would have been during the, I'll just call it samurai era, the different eras are typically named according to whoever was shogun or emperor at the time. That's usually what the names are referring to. So there's still a samurai walking around. They don't have rifles yet. So that gives you kind of a time frame. I'd put this in, I don't know, the 1600s, we'll say. Okay. They come to a bridge, and there's an old Japanese technique that you'll see. You don't see it too much now, but in older movies and older TV shows, you will see that two men who, as we are watching and consuming the media, we assume are going to battle. They, quote unquote, face off against each other. And you get them, they will stand there and they will just stare at each other in a prepared kind of stance, hand on sword. And you're thinking, oh, they're going to draw and they're going to go at it. And this is the big scene. And then they will just politely bow to each other and go back the way they came or in some other direction so that they don't cross paths. Come to find out that what they did is that staring was their measuring of each other's ability, kind of a spiritual weighing of, is this worth it? I know what I can do. Can I beat them? And they, both of the individuals in question are doing the same test on the other person. They both are aware of their abilities, and they're both feeling out kind of supernaturally the other person's abilities. And if the two are evenly matched, there is no point to fight because nobody is going to win. And, there may be a lot more to lose than like just being killed.
Yeah.
So it's not worth it. These two measured each other, determined it was not worth it, and they just left each other alone. Now, in of itself, unless you have a little bit of knowledge, that's a big fat who cares. Miyamoto Musashi is thought to have been the absolute greatest swordsman that in the world, certainly that ever was born and lived in Japan, a Japanese sword saint. So any character that could live up to the legend of the greatest sword fighter ever must be a pretty badass character of their own. Yeah. So that's what Ogun is telling Kitty. If you don't know who Miyamoto Musashi is, that's lost on you. It's two tough guys and, this dude was just as tough as Ogun. And it's like, yes, but there's a reason why the other character was Miyamoto, not, so. And he explains to her, the eye contact was the duel, kitten. when each took the full measure of his foe and realized that the other was his equal in every respect. And further, that this was a battle neither could win. The conflict resolved, there was no need to actually cross swords. She says, hey, wait, you're trying to tell me Ogun's the same guy, that he's immortal? And it's like, well, not necessarily, but perhaps he has lived 500, 600, 700 years. Doesn't mean he's immortal. It doesn't mean he's pretty old, though. No one knows for sure. And then he tells her, get dressed, pumpkin. He always refers to as pumpkin. Meet me outside. So now we are going to see a test of Ogun's influence passively on Kitty. Now, Wolverine already has a pretty full test of Ogun's influence with a sword in Kitty's hand. He pretty well knows that. But here he's wanting to see, getting somebody to physically do something is a level of training. Getting someone to see and think the same way that you do, that's another level. And that's what Wolverine is going to test here. He wants to see how deeply Ogun's influence in Kitty goes. So he takes her out back or takes her to the side or whatever. And there's a sand yard. And again, at the end, perhaps you understand the significance of this. But at this particular time, unless you have knowledge of what you're seeing here, you may not have realized the where this was going. Basically, Wolverine and Kitty, for those of you that can't see the pictures, are standing in an unkempt Zen garden that is somewhere on the property of the Yoshida, which I didn't know that the Yoshidas gave into Zen, but it doesn't matter. So Wolverine gives Kitty a rake in the middle of this unkempt Zen garden and leaves her. He says, you have an hour. Here you go. I'll be back. And she's asking, well, why? What's going on? She doesn't understand. She's a Jewish kid from New York, Chicago. So she has no idea. And he just leaves her. And the panel, let's see. Yeah, there's a panel here. I'll be back. Do as you're told, he tells her. And she's standing here in this big, sand pit with some rocks holding a rake saying, this is silly.
And she's like, what do I do? And he says, anything you like.
Yep. He just gave her the rake, basically. Yep. This is what you use, whatever you want to do. So Wolverine goes back inside and has a confrontation with Yukio. She's given him some grief about pushing himself too far physically. We haven't really seen, he's kind of bandaged up, and you see that he's using this walking stick, but that's about all we've seen really until now. There's a panel where he is just completely covered in sweat, pushing his way through the pain and the lack of energy that a severe situation like this will give a human body. So you see that even though we may know at this time that Wolverine heals, he is having a hard time or not healing or whatever. Yeah. But it's not like other situations that we will see where one panel he's cut and the next panel he's healed over.
The Comic Book Show will return after these messages.
Hello there. Come on in and welcome to the Fantastic Pour. I am your host, Brett Young, and this is the podcast serving up comics, cocktails, and conversation for your listening pleasure. Every episode, I'll welcome a guest to the Fantasta Lounge to explore one of their favorite comic book characters and cover a classic story in which they're featured. And what pairs better with great literature than a delicious drink? Based on my guest's ingredient of choice, we'll mix up a cocktail or mocktail to enjoy in the Fantasta Lounge while we talk comics, mixology, history, and whatever else comes to mind. So join me every month for the Fantastic Pour, open for business by the Fire and Water Podcast Network.
According to the latest report from FalsifiedStats.com, there are currently 12 million active comic book podcasts clogging up the internet superhighway, and 2.3 million new comic book podcasts are being created every single day. If you're looking for something a little different, Then let me tell you about Mike's Comic Shop Roadshow. Mike travels the globe and visits comic shops along the way, talking to the owners or really just whomever happens to be minding the store that day. And it's through these conversations that you'll meet some wonderful people and learn how comic shops are run in places like Murfreesboro, Illinois, and Liverpool, New South Wales, Australia. So check out Mike's Comic Shop Roadshow, a truly unique comic book podcast among billions of the same old, same old. Find it now on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm Mike, and I approve this message.
And now, back to the comic book show.
Something is going on, and I believe they even told us during the fight that Ogun had done something to the sword or something. It had some kind of energy to it or something like that.
Maybe. Yeah, but if this had been published in, even 20 years later, 2004, he totally would have been healed before the previous issue ended.
Oh, well, or at the very least, the car ride would have just finished it off.
He
took
would
a
have come
little
out of the
nap
car and been like, I'm all ready to go. Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because there is literally an issue of Wolverine from around 2006, 2007, because I talk about it on Just Another Fanboy, where I think he's in the middle of a nuclear explosion.
Oh,
and
is this
all
a drop
that's
of
left
blood?
is his adamantium skeleton, and a drop of blood. And within panels, he's back to his normal. And I was like, no, that's not the Wolverine. I keep bringing this up.
That's not the way it works.
Yeah, this is the Wolverine I like. I want to see him struggle. I want to see him, get knocked down and then get back up again. Nothing going to keep him down.
He has a healing ability.
Yeah.
He is not immortal.
God. Yeah, exactly.
Which is what that drop of blood whole thing would be, is if he was immortal. And Wolverine is not.
Yeah, do you have any idea what it's like now for the character? Because I know that at one point he died and came back to life, so I don't know if they kind of tamped down that healing factor at that point.
I'm not sure. To kill Wolverine, I know that they covered him in liquid adamantium.
Yeah.
And the adamantium hardened. And so, of course, the question was, is he truly dead or is he just trapped? Well, ultimately, he gets out of that. So
they can't even suffocate him?
He got out of that. Now, I think his healing factor is tamped down a little bit due to age. Yeah. He will say even, I'm not as young as I used to be, which is kind of funny. It's like, you're like 500 years old.
Yeah.
What do you mean? So I think it's not, he does take rest breaks. It's not that completely unstoppable kind of Wolverine. He will get into a situation, get kind of messed up, and he's like, man, I'm glad that's over because I need to step over here and take some time and heal up. And so. But
it's the Wolverine. It was during Civil War. I remember that because it was the Civil War tie-in issues of the Wolverine series. And I'm fairly certain Humberto Ramos did the pencils. I'm a big fan of the Humberto Ramos.
Nice art.
But yeah.
Okay, so he takes his chastisement from Yukio and just brushes it off. Wolverine is going to do what Wolverine does. That's, which is what we expect from the character. So he goes back outside, and it's a little hard to see. I think it's there. I guess this is because of the art style of the artist, not anything other than, again, if this were Jim Lee or John Byrne, we'd have been able to see the tracks in the sand. But what Kitty has done is she's taken this rake and she has ordered, I guess, this Zen garden. She moves some of the smaller rocks around and you see all the twisty and turny rake marks as you will see in Zen gardens. Now, the whys and the wherefores exactly of what it is, I don't know. I've always assumed that what you see is that person's belief of how that garden wants to be. I think that kind of fits into the Zen. So it's,
Bill from Long Island says, it's always best when the character has to struggle. Making them able to withstand everything with little more than a shrug takes away conflict and consequences. I agree.
Well, we see that character in another book that we talk about, or in another character that we talk about. Mm-hmm. And over the years, they have done everything imaginable to take that away from that character because that is exactly how they were built, is to be everything. impervious, all of that stuff. So over the years, they have come up with some really weird ideas as to what to do to that character to take those abilities away. So Kitty ordered this Zen garden. She's sitting on top of a large boulder. What does he say? Meditating. Because I guess when you are being all zen-y, that's what one does. Jumps down. What do you think of my handiwork? She asked. Not too shabby. You tell me. I thought I just did. Remember what I told you, girl. Look at it. And then it strikes her. Wait, how do I know how to do? Why would I have done this? Again, the teen Jewish girl from Chicago. What does she know about Zen philosophies and Zen gardens? But apparently she did exactly what the appropriate followers of Zen would do in this situation, which tells Wolverine that, wow, so not only did Ogun change her physically, he changed her spiritually as well. So the complete Kitty is now different from what she was pre-Ogun. Yeah. This was kind of the final test of how complete is the transition. Logan tells her the kind of garden a Zen master spends a lifetime crafting in mind as much as substance. And she says, but not a teenager from Chicago. I shouldn't know where to begin. Wolverine, what did Ogun do to me? So, Ogun did to her similar to what the Hand did to Betsy Braddock when she and Quanon got messed up in the Siege Perilous storyline of the X-Men when they left the Outback. They got defeated in the Outback, and the only way they could escape was to go through the Siege Perilous. And Betsy Braddock was the X-Men. Quanon was the young Japanese lady, and the two of them got forever tangled. Quanon dies of the legacy virus, but she's brought back. So actually, they're both running around now. Yeah. Anyway, so it's that same kind of thing. You would see Betsy Braddock, but inside of her was what was Quanon, and then vice versa. Here, you see Kitty Pryde on the outside, but inside is this Ogun's, I guess, idea of what a perfect assassin or a perfect student would be. I mean, that I don't necessarily know that the question is ever answered why. He's a bad guy and he does something, and you don't always have to explain why in the story. Sometimes it would be interesting. A lot of times it's not. We know why Dr. Doom does a lot of the stuff he does. So
yeah, again, I just have to assume it's because Ogun somehow knew before choosing her about her phasing ability, and therefore thought if I had that power, I'd be an unstoppable assassin. Okay. And Wolverine does kind of explain here. I don't know if he said it or maybe Yukio said it, but the idea here is that eventually this Ogun personality will completely take over Kitty Pryde, and she'll be Ogun, but she'll look like Kitty Pryde
in her body. Yeah.
So I don't know if that means for him what that means for him as an individual. Is it just, does he have any control over that once that takes place? Can he? I don't know, because the only way that would be advantageous to him personally is if he then becomes her with those powers, so he can experience that, not just another version of himself that he can order and send out like a clone to do stuff. But
and maybe that's how he's managed to live all this time, is he finds this person, he inhabits this person, the old body dies, whatever, and he moves through time in this new person, and then just does that time after time.
Yeah, could be.
We get some hints of it. I think enough to understand by the end of this miniseries the nature of Ogun. But in the 2025 Wolverine and Kitty Pryde miniseries, which is the follow-up to this story, we definitely see that Ogun is characterized much more as a supernatural being than anything physical or corporeal. So
yeah, they kind of go, a couple of times they kind of go back and forth on that. Even here, when she asks, what did Ogun do to me? He says magic or some form of psi powers. He's either a supernatural demon or
Right.
he is very talented psychic, psionically like Professor X. Maybe it's a little of both,
Inside we go. We see a little bit of Clan Yoshida's. This is some sort of a room of honor. And I apologize. I don't know. I'm sure that the Japanese have very specific names for these things, and I'm not aware of them, or at least I don't think I'm aware of them. But this is the room where, like, probably official ceremonies involving the clan and advancing in the clan and honorifics and things like that would occur. The clan banner is hung in the back of the room, and these side banners, I believe, are either accomplishments or sub-clans that have become part of the clan, the colored markers there. In the middle, on a large platform, a large dais, not just a speaking dais, but like a third of the room is raised, is the Wolverine says it's the honor sword of the clan Yoshida. It probably is the sword that the Yoshida clan used to first stake their name as being a family worth knowing. Someone in battle killed someone of power, and this was the sword they killed him with, I think is usually how it goes. Wolverine, they're both kneeling on either side of the cradle that the sword is sitting in, and Wolverine lifts it, and I wonder if Clan Yoshida even knows he's doing this. Lifts the sword and hands it to Kitty, and she holds it, arms extended, like she's doing on the cover. Wolverine is telling her it's the honor sword of Clan Yoshida, forged 800 years ago by the supreme swordsmith Masamune. The sword blade represents all that is best and most noble in the family, and the samurai, the Lord's champion, who wields it. Me. So, if Wolverine were to go into battle, this is the sword that he would have on him, representing Clan Yoshida in the battle. She holds it up. He says, I want you to hold it at arm's length for as long as you can. Before he even finishes that, she collapses, unable to hold the sword. Now, that's not physically. She doesn't collapse physically. She collapses spiritually. The aspect of holding the honor sword of a clan is beyond her Ogun-tainted spiritual ability to do. Ultimately, I suppose the honor sword is a plus 10 honor weapon, and Kitty right now is evil, and so the two just don't mesh. She just cannot do it. And that's what she probably chaotic evil at this point, since I threw out the plus for the D&D reference.
In other words, it's the one like super visual aspect that they can use to show that she's conquered this thing inside her. When she can lift the sword and keep it up,
right,
she's won.
Right. That ultimately you can figure that's where it's going to go. Whether it's something official or she surreptitiously in the middle of the night to just for her own edification tests herself or whatever. Maybe it'll happen multiple times during the rest of the story that she'll check and see how she's doing, But yeah, it's the meter that we're going to use to see how evil Kitty is, or how much evil is left in her, however you want to look at it. She looks at him, says, how many hours? He says, not even 5 minutes.
It wasn't even a minute.
No, I mean, he didn't even finish speaking, and she had, and it would be just someone just talking, describing it. It's not like he took a long time, a lot of Claremontian words. Claremont was pretty to the point in this scene. It was just, one sentence. So, what's the point? To hold it until you're told to stop without effort or strain. He says, impossible, she retorts. If that's what you believe, girl, then it will always be. And notice that Milgram draws him with fangs.
Yeah.
The animal side of Wolverine kind of thing. Give me a break. You too tall and too darn ugly to be Yoda.
Ha 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 ha.
Ah.
Pop culture callback.
Yep. Try you must not, succeed you must, or however Yoda would put it.
Well, him saying, if that's what you believe, girl, then it always will be. That's total. I mean, Yoda, it's the scene where Luke tries to get the X-Wing out of the Dagobah swamp and he can't do it. And then Yoda does it and Luke just goes, I don't believe it. And Yoda says, and that is why you fail. So that's what he's doing here.
So the next day, we have the beginning really of the detraining or the untraining that Wolverine is going to put Kitty through to try to break Ogun's influence or teach Kitty another path side by side with Ogun's and allow her to choose which path she walks, because there's several times Wolverine makes reference to the fact that she was not consulted. The choices that were made were not hers. They were made for her.
Yep.
So if you want to get really zen-y right now, perhaps he's not trying to undo, but he's giving her another path that she can walk. And then when that path is finished, she can choose which path she wants to walk.
Yeah.
Visually, if it's, we're getting all metavisual here, or, whatever you want to call that. Next day they go out, they're at the top of a waterfall and inspecting the scenery and seeing how beautiful at sunrise this is and everything like that. And while Kitty is distracted with the beauty of the waterfall, Wolverine pushes her over into the freezing water. This is, I guess, still maybe wintertime in Japan, or maybe it's because they're high in the mountains. Not really sure. So she drops down into the water and says it's freezing and gasps. And I've jumped into creeks growing up that were cold, and when you do, boy, it takes everything out of you. It's almost like your soul momentarily leaves your body. It's just you seize up, you can't breathe. You do now she's fallen into essentially what is a river. She needs to swim, or she's going to have a really tough time. Before anything can happen, Wolverine drops his robes, and Kitty can see by the bandages and the state that his body is in what kind of damage she did to him. It's the first time that he's been disrobed, unrobed around her, and she hasn't known, other than in her memory and perhaps what he has said, how much damage physically she did to him. Well, now she can see it. He jumps down into the river with her and starts, and I don't know, maybe this is falling into a lake. I don't know. But he wants her to match him in swimming. Quit babbling, swim. I want you matching me stroke for stroke. Cole, I don't know. This is some kind of martial arts samurai ninja training. I don't necessarily understand the point for this, other than it's something paraphysical that is going, whatever.
Yeah.
Days pass. We both grow stronger. Kitty stops having nightmares about Ogun, or at least stops telling me about them. But there's still a long way to go. We see her trying 1, 2, 3 panels to hold the sword. Still nowhere near as long as she is supposed to be. Maybe longer than what it was that first time, but not as long as you want to until you want to put it down, which is ultimately the goal. There should be no taxing of the body in doing this. You just do it. You put it down,
Yeah.
He's watching her, he's probably keeping track of her all the time, seeing how she is progressing, seeing what he is doing is progressing on her. So he's watching here, and Yukio grabs him from the shadows, tells him that there's a call. Turns out it's Xavier calling. He's finally tracked down where Wolverine is. I'd be curious how. I don't know if he used his mental and I put my fingers to my head like he does in the movie. Yeah, sorry. I would. If he uses mental powers, or who in the world is going to give up where Wolverine is if he's trying to track him down that way? Really? Not me. I ain't seen him. I don't know where he is. I saw him like 5 years ago. That was the last time. I don't know. So I thought that was kind of funny. The first thing that I thought of was, all right, who gave up Wolverine, man? That's,
Could he have used Cerebro?
Probably. He is supposed to. I mean, if you use that, you're supposed to be able to pick up anything on the planet. So, yeah. But he's calling to tell Wolverine the 2 pieces of information about his friends that Steeven told us in the synopsis. One was that the leader of Alpha Flight has died. What was his name?
James Hudson.
Yes, James Hudson has died. And for those of you that don't know Alpha Flight, spoilers, his body armor that he used got so messed up in a battle against some bad guys that it blew up before he could fix it, and it killed him. And that Storm has been ambushed by federal agents. She was struck by some form of energy weapon. It stripped her of all her powers, I fear permanently. Spoilers Forge made the gun. It was not supposed to be used against Storm. That's not why it was designed. It was not supposed to be used against any mutant that Forge knew. Henry Peter Gyrich took it and used it against Storm, and it took away her powers. At the same time, Rogue was injured, and Rogue disappeared from the X-Men for a little while, too, as she recovered. Storm went on to lead the X-Men at this point with no powers.
And she gets a mohawk.
I think she already had the mohawk.
The mohawk. That is my Storm. So when the 90s animated X-Men came out,
right? Yeah,
the cartoon, and she's all like, "By the goddess of blah blah." It's like, what? That's not. I don't remember Storm doing anything like that. But my Storm is only from a small window of time, really, when it comes to the X-Men.
Right. She defeated Cyclops a little bit after this for leadership of the X-Men. They actually fought in the Danger Room, and she beat him. Which
it's a good cover. It's a John Romita cover, John Romita Jr. cover.
Yeah,
right?
That was while John Romita was drawing. Yeah. Good story. Couldn't have been a better thing to happen to Cyclops. I see why a lot of people are not Cyclops fans, just because of the way he's been used. I mean, I'm not going to blame it on the character. The character is the character. It's not, But now, though, the pendulum has swung until now. Storm is some kind of alpha, omega, beginning, ending mutant of all time. I mean, she is undefeatable. She can do whatever she wants. And I'm like, I don't. First of all, I don't think that's what Storm would want to be able to do or to choose to do it based on the character that she was portrayed for us for a long, long time. Yeah. It's not the kind of thing Storm would do. But in women's lib and black character lib and whatever other lib that you want, that's what the current crop of fanfic writers have chosen to do with Storm. So that's where she's at. Here it is. Okay. I fear the news from Canada. He mentioned Alpha Flight and then said about Storm and then went back to Alpha Flight. Yeah. So probably, other than Mariko, probably the two people that Wolverine has the most feelings for, have both. One is dead and the other is maimed for life. The mutants often speak on what it feels like to lose their power, and it would be like for one of us regular people to lose an arm or a leg or something. So it's they consider it maiming. And so click. Wolverine. I don't think he said anything. He didn't say anything about why he was there. He didn't say anything about Kitty being with him. So I don't know. Maybe Charles knows that. Maybe he doesn't. It wasn't important for this phone call.
He basically just tells him, we haven't been easy to find. That's deliberate. No, I won't explain. This is a personal matter.
So maybe Charles does mention Kitty, but we just don't see it in the conversation because it's from Wolverine's side, perhaps. Yeah. So, now, of course, Wolverine has a decision to make. Does he go back to his, we'll say, previous life and take care of these deaths and what's happened to Storm and everything like that? Or does he continue to stay here in Japan with Kitty? And also, I mean, he is still physically recovering and take care of this aspect of his life. He can't do both. So he, at this point, has to make a choice. You have work. You have a work obligation, but your best friend's funeral across the country is occurring. Do you drop your business work obligation, maybe a big thing that you have been working towards, to go to the funeral, or do you respect your best friend's funeral? And it's that kind of major decision that he's having to make.
Yeah.
So concerned about the decision is he that he goes outside and screams vehemently at the night, just releasing that anger, tension, what have you.
Yeah, I like what he said, his inner dialogue here, because he's talking about James Hudson. He refers to him as Jamie because they were best buds. I was little more than an animal when Jamie found me. I owe him my life, my humanity. He was like my brother, but he's dead. I can't do anything for him or Storm. And if I leave, I'll lose Kitty too. I don't like it, but I got no choice. Doesn't make me hurt any less as I howl till my voice cracks and my eyes burn hot with tears. He's howling. Ow.
Ow. So it's howling. Is that what we're left to? Okay.
James Howlett in the howling as he howls.
Yeah. All right. So the next scene here is Wolverine and Kitty running laps somewhere out in the booger lands of the mountains where the Yashida castle is. Now it is not a driving rainstorm. It is a driving snowstorm. So it most definitely is winter. I don't know if that means that there have been seasons go by from when the car was racing up the mountain in the rainstorm.
No, they explain it right there in that first panel.
Yeah, you're right. Which I did want to make mention because I like the fact that they brought up James dying. I like the fact that they brought up Storm. And I like the fact that they brought up this that's going on in Thor.
Yeah.
All of those things are not things that happen in Marvel Comics nowadays.
Nope.
It does happen more frequently in DC's books than Marvel's, but nowhere near as much in DC's books as it should. And that is, when things happen, depending on how big they are, other characters in the Marvel Universe are aware. In this scene, the driving snowstorm is because the Casket of Ancient Winters has been shattered in Thor. Now, this was not the only Marvel comic book that saw the effects of that either. Spider-Man, I remember, saw it. I believe the X-Men at the time, their book saw it. Of course, Thor here. So that's, and we saw the Casket of Ancient Winters in one or two of the Thor movies, too. They used it as a prop. So that's how big a thing it was in the Thor's mythos.
Yep.
So that's that. You're right. That's why it's snowing here. Kitty and Wolverine, much like swimming in ice cold water, I would imagine, running in these casual or more trainee-y kind of robes. You're not protected at all for what you're doing. Is the main thing in these in the clothes that they're wearing. But this is kind of a turning point in the character arc for Kitty, probably in the series, but most definitely in this book, in this issue.
Yeah.
So they're out running. She is keeping up with him. Wolverine he continues to push her more, run faster, perhaps not quitting, so perhaps they are running longer than what he initially said or what have you, but he's making her work more and more and more until finally she can't work anymore and she trips and falls. She trips and falls out in the mountains somewhere in the snow in a snowstorm. Okay. You're probably not going to be too much more disoriented than what Kitty is. Plus she is now arguably exhausted. Everything that's happened, Wolverine pushing her now. She's physically at her end. She needs a long rest. And she asks, can you help me up? And he says, no. She says, well, I hurt my ankle. He says, no. She says, you're not going to help me? He said, you can do it. And she's like, I'm trying. I'm doing everything I can. I can't do anymore. And he says, well, then don't. Well, if I stay here, I'm going to die. Well, then come on, let's go. I mean, he's being a real dog's ass to her here. I can't. You won't. Your choice, girl. Live or die, struggle or surrender. Maybe it's better this way. Just close your eyes and go to sleep. A quick, clean finish rather than a lifetime spent scared stiff that Ogun will come to claim you. And here she has the fit that we all want to have. She's laying here in the snow. She's pounding her fist on the ground and she says, it isn't fair. Man, that probably is in the top 5 of phrases that have gone through my mind across my lifetime.
I saw a meme recently that is in the Gen X. That's how Gen Xers learned about life. You told our parents that's not fair, and then our parents said life isn't fair. That's how we learn.
Yeah, and to this day, I think maybe that probably is the most accurate thing my parents have ever said to me.
Yeah.
So, it's not fair. Not for Storm, not for Jamie. What made you think things would be different for you? Now, Kitty does know about Storm and Jamie. She heard. He didn't tell her. She heard, I guess, Yukio maybe told her, who knows. The trick is taking the hand you're dealt. Because why? Because you got to know when to hold them.
Know when to fold them.
And winning, anyway. It's a decision only you can make, Catherine. That may be the first time I've ever seen him use her full name. The most important you'll ever face, the only one that matters. And he takes off on continuing his run to presumably back to the castle ultimately or wherever, but he continues what they were doing. Leaves her in the snow, mumbling, moaning, whatever, please. She yells and screams a couple times, but this please is not that kind of volume. So you can imagine she just dropped her face into the snow and just said, please.
Yeah, it looks like her, from the waist down, she's already almost covered in snow.
It's snowing that hard, yeah.
Yeah.
The Comic Book Show will return after these messages. Step into the savage world of the Hyborian Age and journey through a land of sorcery, steel, and epic adventure with me, Stephen Orr, on Hither Came Conan. Together we'll explore the legendary Conan the Barbarian comic series from Marvel Comics, starting with the groundbreaking first issue from 1970 and working our way through each epic tale, one issue at a time. Along the way, I'll also dive into any other Conan comics I can get my hands on, because when it comes to the titular Cimmerian, there's no such thing as too much adventure. Whether you're a diehard Conan fan or just discovering the greatest barbarian of all time, this podcast is your gateway to the blood-soaked battlefields, treacherous kingdoms, and forgotten treasures of Robert E. Howard's timeless creation. New episodes are packed with action, insights, and a little humor, all dedicated to the world of Conan and the creators who brought him to life on the comic book page. So sharpen your swords and subscribe to Hither Came Conan today on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts. Crom demands it.
Into the boat!
Hi, I'm Mike Garvey. You might remember me from podcasts such as Waiting for Doom, DCOTD, or The Gary Show. And I've made a terrible decision. I've started a podcast where I read detective comics, one issue at a time, across 80 plus years, on purpose. It's called The Detective Phase. If you like comics, historical deep dives, or listening to a grown adult lovingly explain why stories from as far back as 1939 still matter, this show is absolutely for you. And if you've ever loved Batman and thought, what if someone took this way too seriously? The Detective Phase has you covered. New episodes twice a month, wherever you get your podcasts, on the Waiting for Doom feed, or at waitingfordoom.com. Therapy pending. I heard that Dr. Herkensteffner might be available.
And now, back to the Comic Book Show.
So Logan finishes his run, gets back to the castle here, and because of how long it's taken him, I would presume, Yukio and
Carmen.
What's his name? Carmen. Yes, are waiting. Have stepped out of the castle and are waiting for Wolverine. Where's Kitty? She fell. You left her. You miserable. In this blizzard, she'll die. And that's the normies' view of it. That probably would be a lot of the readers' view.
Yeah.
Over here, though, Yukio is saying in a lower voice, or actually, I think she's saying it in Japanese.
Yeah.
A harsh decision, my love. And then she says, I'll get the snowcat, Pride. Be calm. We'll find her. And off panel, you see, I appreciate the thought, Yukio. And then the next panel is Kitty trudging through the snow. But that won't be necessary as she brushes brusquely past everybody, including Wolverine, more pointedly, into the house. So whatever she did, she made up a lot of ground with Wolverine because he left her in the dust in that panel. But by the time he gets up to these stairs, they've said a couple phrases to each other, and there's Kitty.
Yep.
So as soon as he got out of sight, she must have got on her horse and zipped on to get home. Yeah. So she's there. He's there. She's soaking in a hot tub, filing everything away in her mind of what has happened and what it means and what she wants to do. And, just everything. She's just she's settling herself with the her, what she's gone through, what she is, what it means for the future a little bit, but just kind of, this is our chance as the readers to take a breath, because Wolverine's been pushing her pretty hard. And now we get to see whether it's working or not by Kitty's inner dialogue. She says, I should be so angry at Wolvie. Those first steps on the road after I got up, I hated him. Now I understand. He's honing and shaping me for real, the way Ogun did with his mind games, except that at every stage, Logan's allowing me the luxury or making the responsibility of choice. And so that is where I think that Wolverine is just cutting another path for her to travel.
Yeah.
So that she can choose to continue traveling the path that Ogun forced her into, or make the choice and travel this other path.
Yep.
And that's kind of, like I say, that's kind of a zen-y way of going about it, rather than trying to break any type of programming and you know, putting her in a chair with Charles Xavier beating around in her brain and all these other things. It's like, no, we will show you an alternative, and you can then choose that alternative or choose what you're doing, which I'm sure is a whole therapy method, if you looked it up, a way of therapying people. Ogun forced me. This I do or not because I want to. Succeed or ultimately fail, at least I've made the decision to try. Is that it? Is that the answer? All those other times I was making a big effort to hold the sword. Why not simply just do it? And so the next panel we see, she is sitting there for who knows how long she's been sitting there holding the sword. Yukio and Wolverine are over here peeking at her through this door. Carmen is peeking at his daughter through another door. Wolverine says to Yukio, her bed hasn't been slept in. She's been at this all night. In Japanese, Yukio says, how long will you let her go on? And Logan responds in Japanese. And I guess that's because this is a whole Japanese culture kind of thing. So they're kind of respecting, I guess, that aspect of things, making the two characters speak in Japanese. She started it, hun. She's earned the privilege of calling it quits. Yukio says, no matter how strong she may seem or even be, Logan, she is still but a child. No true match for Ogun, which is true. Kitty was supposedly 13, I think, when the X-Men first encountered her. And this probably hasn't been all that long. So maybe she's 15, maybe. Yeah. So, and we see day, and we see the rising sun, the Japanese. Yeah, I don't know why they did that. I guess that's the setting sun, but it looks like the rising sun symbol that's on the Japanese flag to me. Sun, set, moon, rise, moon, which is a crescent, until finally, rather than setting the sword down, she stands up with it, walking with it to where Wolverine is sleeping, and she unsheathes it because she's finally going to kill him. But then she lays the scabbard and the sword down next to Wolverine, in her monologue saying, I won, Wolvie, but I've lost as well. Goodbye. And then in the final page, we see that actually, I think the airport probably should be shut down completely as much as it's snowing. I can't imagine that they let planes today go out in this kind of weather, but they're coming and going. She is taking a plane to, I guess, the U.S., and this is something that your synopsis, if I heard correctly, I didn't agree with. She's getting on the plane to go home, and the final scene is her going to the gate to get to the plane. Okay, hang on. You see, I don't understand. She's in Tokyo. She's outside Tokyo. So why would she take a plane to Tokyo?
I don't know where this Agarashima, I don't know where that airport is. I'm assuming it's the closest airport to the castle, wherever that is, and it's far enough away from Tokyo that there's obviously air service there.
So in a hurry to help heal Wolverine, she drove hours and hours and hours away from Tokyo to get to the Yoshida Castle to help Wolverine in the beginning of the book, Yukio. Well, that doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. But
and you know, the only thing that you can really tell is it says Gate 17 Tokyo with an arrow. So the assumption is that's where this plane goes, is to Tokyo. And I'm like, she's just outside Tokyo. Why is she? So
I don't know, because she is standing there at one point, and there's a big sign up there that shows one way are the gates for the U.S.
Okay, you're right. This way.
The other way are the gates for Tokyo. She says that by this time tomorrow, I'll be with the X-Men. She wants Professor X to fix her. But then I guess as she's standing there, she realizes, nope, I got to go face Ogun first. But yeah, the whole idea of why they're so far away from Tokyo at this point that it would require flying. I can only assume that Yukio, of course, knows that with Wolverine, it's okay to drive him for hours in the back of a car because he's slowly healing. Maybe it was more to get Kitty Pryde somewhere safer than it was to get Wolverine somewhere that was safer.
Could be. I mean, but up until that drive in that car, everything had occurred in Tokyo.
Yeah.
The offices, Yukio, all of it had been in Tokyo.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, because of that car drive, driving an injured comrade somewhere that he can convalesce, they drove far enough away that the way to get back is by airline.
Or, I'm going to do a no prize here.
That's kind of weird.
Because they don't say how she gets to this airport. Maybe she did go back to Tokyo. She got on a flight. This is a stopover.
Okay.
And then she did nope, I got to go back. They're not very good at explaining it at all.
Multiple steps, several steps later that we're seeing. Could be. Yeah, I don't know. This would definitely be a question that I would ask the writer, which now they're not going to remember. But, what were you thinking? This is what I saw. In your mind, what did you see when you were writing it that I missed this? I misconstrued what you were doing. Yeah. So what happened? But yeah, we'll probably never know. I don't imagine that Chris Claremont remembers specifically about this. He seems to remember a lot when he gets interviewed, and I don't know if that's because he uses note cards or what, but he still seems pretty sharp about why did the character do this and do that and stuff. So, but yeah, I don't know. And so that's where we're left. Kitty leaves Wolverine and Yukio and her dad at the Clan Yoshida Castle. She's going to go to the U.S., but then decides to divert and go back to Tokyo, one can assume, to face Ogun for the final time and beat him once and for all, which even as Yukio said, I don't care what Wolverine just did to Kitty. There's no way. There's just no way.
Yeah.
Theoretically, being Sensei, there's no way that Wolverine would be able to beat him either. And then you add to that if Ogun is a supernatural being, come on. I mean, everything is stacking against Ogun being defeatable in any kind of typical kind of way, in any good guy, bad guy way. You need magics, or you need to find out what his sore spot is, or his weakness, or something. But we'll see. We have 2 more issues for the final showdown between Kitty and Ogun, which you definitely feel is going to happen. In order to put all this to rest, the way that the story has been written up to now, that has to be what happens.
Yeah.
Fighting Ogun will be Kitty's final choice as to follow him or follow other in this case being Wolverine. So it's definitely going to get there. Is Wolverine going to be involved? Wolverine doing the same thing Kitty is because of how Ogun treated him as well when he was training him, maybe. So it'll be like 2 against 1, or, you don't know. But sets up some interesting possibilities, especially with how long is this flight back to Tokyo, since you were just right there anyway. So anyway, I'll let that go. Next issue, I won't even mention that.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, no, I won't. I'll remember. I'll keep my mouth shut if I think it. So.
All right. Anything else you want to say about this issue before we move on to the ads?
No. Good stuff. I remembered it. I don't remember it necessarily as fondly now as I did the first time I read it. A lot of water under the bridge. But I definitely see why I felt then the way that I did.
Yeah.
So it's a little different. I felt it then, but now it's like remembering how you feel and understanding why you're feeling that way, even though now I don't necessarily feel that way reading it. I probably didn't pay any attention to this whole Tokyo thing when I read it the first time, but it jumped out at me this time. So
I didn't even think about it this time at all, until you brought it up. Our first ad is from the inside front cover. It is an ad for Monogram Models. We have Bob Glidden's Thunderbird, Terry Labonte's Piedmont Monte Carlo. So these are basically NASCAR. Would you call them NASCAR?
Well, you've got drag cars and NASCARs both. Terry Labonte is the NASCAR, and then Bob Glidden. That looks like a
drag race, like a racer
race. Yeah, because down here you've got Rick Smith, Frank Iaconillos, and Rare and Morrison. Those all look like drag. And then the Mountain Dew Regal and the Wrangler Thunderbird, those look like NASCAR.
Yeah. Terry Labonte is the only name I recognize.
Yeah, me too. I never followed drag.
Yeah.
Drag strip racing, I should say, to be more clear. Sorry.
It's Friday night. I'm putting on my highest heels, my shortest skirt, my best device for concealing my penis, and I got everything I need. I got my
Next ad is a repeat, the Oreo cookies everywhere ad where you're supposed to color in where all the Oreos are. There are 62. This brought back a lot of memories. For some reason, this is an ad that I just remember seeing all the time.
It's not very clear here, but the guys have moved off of the Oreo ad and are now looking at a new ad. Back to it, lads.
This brought back a lot of memories. For some reason, this is an ad that I just remember seeing all the time back then. And it's funny because you look at it and yes, it's all about the DP, what is it called? Orbitron barbells and weight benches. So you got a guy sitting on a weight bench. He's wearing shorts and athletic socks and athletic shoes and a tank top, and he's curling a barbell in one hand. And, he's got a big, like 600 pounds on the weight bench behind him to bench press. But really, while this is an ad for this exercise equipment, this is a place where you can cut out a little thing in the page and send in, $8.95 plus $1, and you'll get one of these DB Orbitron branded tank tops.
Tank tops, yes. You can't completely see it because of the way that the dude is, but it's like, I know enough. I want to support them. I'll get a tank. Yeah.
It's really, really, it's a terrible ad because what they want you to do, the call for action, is to get this tank top, but you don't really get to see what the tank top looks like in the ad, which is silly.
But that's okay, because if you buy the tank top, you will look like this and be able to do this. That
instantly,
yes.
As you're pulling your arms through the sleeves, your muscles form and biceps. Yeah.
Now, I will say, the dude holding the barbell is not Arnold Schwarzenegger size.
No.
Mr. Universe. He is a dude that has worked out some, and he's a little bit more than physical, healthy. Yeah, a little bit more, but not
defined.
Substantial.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's not swole. He's defined.
Yeah, not swole. Yeah. Okay. Gen ZX, Steeven, or whatever that is. Okay.
Next, we have an ad that features Spider-Man fishing with a couple of kids. I don't understand what the call to action on this ad is, because we can see there are two different rod and reel sets here that you could get. And the ad tells us that it's a Garcia fishing team membership. And with this membership, you get a certificate, you get special offers, a newsletter, annuals, plus $3, $5, $7 rebate on combos, free $300 outdoor product rebate booklet. But there's nowhere that it says send a self-addressed stamped envelope and we'll send you the catalog. Nope. So I don't know what they want us to do here. As a kid, I would have went, oh, Spider-Man's fishing. Next.
Makes you want to check out 21 Law Drive in Fairfield, New Jersey to see what's there now.
Yeah, should look that up on Google Earth.
Which I was going to say, you can do on Google Maps, Google Earth. So yeah, that's cool.
I'm going to do it right now.
Peter knows better than the fishing queens. Well, I just read a story podcasting last night about how he recognized New York because of the smell of the air. He had been transported multiple dimensions, and he knew when he got back to New York because of that. So I imagine the water is probably the same way.
Okay, so this looks like a house. An apartment complex, maybe.
Okay, so maybe it's different than what it would have been now, or maybe not. Yeah, who knows?
Okay, so after that, we get another one of the Bonkers ads, which we talked about in a past episode. Bonkers Candy. Next ad is a page of various ads, which has a couple interesting things on it. We get the Robert Bell Thor guy up top, which we always recognize. There is a Mile High Comics ad here. But my favorites, I wanted to get that alien eye creature, the giant alien eye.
Ah, yes.
Only $2 plus.
And it obeys your commands.
Yeah, that's right. Send $2 plus 25 cents for postage and handling. There is what looks like a GoBot or a Transformer, an ad for, it's called a Motobot.
Yes.
Get it for only $1.95 plus shipping and 50 cents shipping and handling.
And it's got Dino Drive.
Drive. Yep.
It's one of those ones that wind when you pull it back and you let it go. I want to know if anybody sent $2 for a hacky sack. People really bought hackies? I mean, it's like, really? All the hippie meetings I go to, they freaking make them and you can buy them homemade.
Yeah. Bill from Long Island asks, Steven, did you visit Mile High when you're in Colorado? Yes, I did.
I think that's why Steven went to Colorado.
That's exactly why Steven went
to visit Mile High. Yeah, his daughter went for a different reason. But
yeah, and I picked up the Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane trade and the Star Brand trade from there. I didn't even notice that ad. That hacky sack ad is just like...
it's just... But yeah, I'm like, is that like hacky sack like I think about it? Or is it different? Or
I don't know. Like, hacky sack like an expert. Send $2 and...
Oh, maybe that's instructions on how to do it.
Maybe, yeah. That's funny. And then there's an ad here to purchase the original Diamond Glove. Order your fantastic Diamond Glove today for only $7.95 plus $2 postage and handling. So I'm assuming that's Michael Jackson's sparkly glove. So
I guess, was that known then?
84, maybe?
Yeah, I mean, I remember it, but I don't remember exactly when it was I saw it or whatever.
But I want you to go back to this GoBot, the Motobot ad, because we're going to come up to something similar on the very next ad. Because most of this ad page is taken up by Transbots, which are Transformers.
Yes.
But anybody, if you know the history of the Transformers, they were Japanese robots, transforming robots from two different collections, two different manufacturers, that they brought to America and put them, made them Transformers. So you got like Megatron there and you got Starscream there, but they're all called different names because I'm assuming this is when they were trying to just sell some of the Japanese.
Actually, the only one that has a name, I think, is the Astro
Magnum.
Yeah, I think the others are just RoboWatch transforming weapon. Yeah, they're just generic what they do, but the Astro Magnus has an actual name, and it's battery operated.
Nice. We also got an ad here for Apache Tree Forts, complete blueprints and building instructions for 4 different forts.
Nice.
Fort Apache, Fort Comanche, Seminole Outpost, and Fort Cheyenne, all named after indigenous tribes.
Now, wasn't Fort Apache in the Bronx?
I thought so. They made a movie out of it.
Yeah, that's
and then the only other thing that stood out to me is the Mental Survival Kit, Hocus Pocus, self-taught, self-hypnosis, free program. Send 2 stamps. That's all you got to do, to send 2 stamps to this place, and they'll stick it in an envelope, stick it back, send it back to you. Anything else on this that stood out?
Just all of these ads for back issues. These are just, it is just so cool to think that once upon a time it was this easy. I mean, not that it's difficult now, but I don't know. There's just something, it's different now. Now I can't wait to get, whatever back issue I've been looking. You can scour 100 different places online and get it every day if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Whereas at this time it was easy, but it's not easy that way. Right. You had to find the ad. You had to decide whether or not you were going to trust it. You had to then send away for the catalog probably. And then,
And then what if you get the catalog and none of the comics you want are on that one? Right. So then you got to find another place. And then let's say you do find a catalog. Oh, it's got the 3 comics I want. So you send it in. And by the time it gets there and back, they're like, oh, we already sold them.
Right. Yeah. 2 of them are sold out. They sent your money back and 1 issue. And you're like, shit. Yeah. It's just good stuff. Good stuff.
All right. Then we get a 2 ads on one page. The top half is for, to advertise that Family Home Entertainment, which is I guess a distribution company that distributed VHS tapes. They got the license to distribute VHS tapes of the G.I. Joe cartoon, Real American Hero.
Pretty pricey, too.
Yeah, $39.95. Who knows how many episodes were on one
Not
VHS?
many.
Probably like 4.
Yeah, dude.
And then the bottom of the page, Bill's got something to say. Bill from Long Island says, the scarcity made it special, like going to the VHS rental store to select a movie instead of conveniently. Yeah, exactly.
That's true.
Yep.
The possibility of it not working out in your favor, that kind of added to the, wow, I wonder if it'll work this time. Yeah.
And how that can end up causing you to discover something maybe you never would have before because the one thing you wanted isn't there.
Right.
So, well, I got to order something, so.
And particularly in the way, I remember going to the VHS and the DVD store, having them all stacked up, and the movie that you want, you look and see, and every one of them's out.
Yep.
And you're like, well, I am not leaving here without something.
Yeah.
So I hadn't even thought of this, but looking at the cover or whatever, I'll give this movie a try. And that is how you found new things rather than looking at some piece of paper or something on a TV screen to pick what you wanted. You went.
And sometimes with the streaming services, there's so much. You just don't even know where to start. I'm going to read a comment. The bottom half of this page is for a graphic novel, a Marvel graphic novel that's coming out soon as in November of 1984. And it's for Swords of the Swashbucklers by Bill Mantlo and Jackson Geist. Ed, did you ever read this?
I have thought about it several times, but I don't believe I have actually sat down and read it. No.
I'm in the same basket. I think every time I would run across this ad, I would always go, that looks I should read that at some point. And I just never have. So I think I'm going to see if I can go out there and find it somewhere and give it a read.
For those of you that may be younger, this dude here named Jackson Geist, he goes by the name Butch now.
Oh, I thought they were brothers.
No, that's Butch Geist.
Okay.
That's the same dude. Yeah.
I thought it was like a Sal and John Buscema thing where they're brothers. Yeah. And okay. Butch and Jackson. Okay, cool. All right. We get a bullpen bulletins. Not a lot of stuff in here to talk about too much.
There's an advert for the Swashbucklers, Marvel graphic novel number 14. So it's coming up very shortly.
Yep. We have the Marvel subscription page where, just like last month, we have the Iron Man in his Iron Santa Claus suit. And my favorite ad of this book, Marvel Superheroes Role-Playing Game by TSR. My brother rushed out and bought this when it became available because he was the role-playing guy. My older brother was huge into Dungeons and Dragons. So we had played this game many a time. Matter of fact, I was first introduced to the Punisher because of this game. So, did you ever own this? Did you ever play it?
Definitely played it. Never owned it, but I definitely played it.
It's a cool one.
Yeah, I had several groups throughout school growing up that played just a variety of different role playing games. I really enjoyed role playing.
Did you do GURPS?
Yes.
I had a buddy in high school that was 2 years younger than me, and he introduced me to GURPS.
And I guess my badge that I did would be it's the generic universal role playing system.
Yep.
GURPS.
GURPS
for everything. Yeah. They came out with a GURP for every conceivable type of setting that you could imagine. And so
the thing is, I listened to a audiobook a few years back. It's called Of Dice and Men.
Okay.
And it's
how clever.
Yeah. It's the history of Dungeons and Dragons, but it also, it's got a lot of really good role-playing history in it. But Dungeons and Dragons, when they came out with the advanced Dungeons and Dragons, that was meant you could use those rules and build any kind of system you wanted to using the AD&D rules. So you could do Marvel superheroes, you could do Conan the Barbarian, you could do Star Wars. So that's basically what GURPS did, but GURPS would release, it's like, here's your space, here's stuff for space,
right.
Here's stuff for sword and sandals, that kind of stuff. And
that was the cool thing, is that if you liked the GURPS system, you could have any kind of role-playing setting that you wanted using that same system.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah. This also makes me think of, and I think it was TSR as well, They did Dungeons and Dragons. They did this. And then there was another role-playing game that my brother got that was, I think it was TSR. I think it was space-based, but they didn't have laser guns. They had needler guns.
Yeah, I remember that.
I just don't remember that one was called.
That one I had. Yeah, I can't remember. But actually, the ads for that will be in comic books also. That very system.
So maybe we'll run into that before we're done.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the setting.
TSR 80s role-playing games. Let's see if it'll... Star Frontiers.
Yes, that was it.
See if I can find
You could play different races. And one of the initial maps in the first box set was of the interior of a big spaceship. So you had that and you could run adventures there. And then you had different planetary settings that came with it as well. But the spaceship one was particularly fun because it was a lot like a dungeon you would run for Dungeons and Dragons.
Let me see if I can get this picture up here. Let's see. Mm-hmm. All right, let me stop sharing because I want you to see the cover. Come on now, work for me here. Share screen.
It's trying.
Nope, that's the wrong one.
No, that's the current one.
There we go.
Yes.
That was the one.
Yep.
Yeah, because I think that ended up being like one of my favorites that I would play with my brother was though I never understood why would they have needle guns and to me as a kid it's like they should have laser guns. That's what they're supposed to have.
Maybe to make a difference.
Yeah.
Since everybody else was using lasers.
That's right. All right, last ad, back cover. It's an ad for the game Risk, which I've never played.
Oh, man. I've played more games of Risk than I can count.
Risk always makes me think of that episode of Seinfeld where Kramer was playing Risk with Newman, and I think Newman had to go to work, so they brought the board to Jerry's apartment because it's neutral ground, and then Newman tried to break in at one point to change the board so he could win. But never played. I think they were playing it on the subway at one point because the game kept going too long. But yeah, never played. It's a fun game.
If it's a slower paced game, and if you like those types of conquest with a lot of there's a lot more chance in it than any amount of know-how that you really had. There was some strategy depending, but a lot of it was chance based. So
yeah. All right. Anything else you want to say about the ads or this issue before I close it all out?
Contemporary comics should have ads like these in them, which
I agree.
They don't. They miss out. And yeah. So, good. Okay. Good book. Cover to cover. Good book.
All right. In our next episode, Kitty can't run. And worse, there's no place she can hide. Kitty is trapped, and the immortal ninja Ogun is out to kill her. That's next time on episode number 5 when Ed and I take a look at Kitty Pryde and Wolverine number 5, Courage. So until next time, folks, I'm Steven, that's Ed, and this was the Comic Book Super Show. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Ciao.
We want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Comic Book Super Show. Questions and comments can be directed to the Comic Book Super Show at somanypodcasts.com. If you enjoyed the show, you can help to boost our presence online by leaving a rating or review on your favorite podcast app. I also invite you to join our subscription program, Steven or Else Beyond. And in return, you'll get episodes of the Comic Book Super Show early and ad-free. Check out the link in the show notes, or just go to beyond.stevenorelse.com to sign up today. The Comic Book Super Show is a presentation of Steven or Else Media. For more nerdy content just like this, check out somanypodcasts.com. All links will be in the show notes.
All right, let's. I'm going to take a quick potty break, and then we'll come back and talk about some ads in this issue.
Sounds good.
Be right back.
So I can't see if anybody else is listening. Is anybody else still out there? Bill, are you still with us, or did we bore you and you jumped off to do some real life stuff? Or anybody else? Is anybody else out there listening and wants to check? Oh, Bill's still here. Thanks, Bill. apparently I went to chat and it won't let me because I'm not signed in the correct way. So I can't respond with chat. I have to respond with voice. So, and I don't have the count like Steven does because he starts the recording and everything. Is there anybody else out there currently listening that wants to chime in on chat just to take a quick census here? Makes us feel good to know that people are listening with us. You know, podcasters are kind of vain in that way, which of course is a joke because podcasters are vain in a whole variety of ways.
All righty.
It's easier that way anyway. Yeah. I get that. I like to respond to people typically in the way they respond to me. I just think that that's polite. Oh, Bill says just me at the moment. Okay. Oh, yeah, that's right. You can see a count, can't you, when you're watching? Yeah, so, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go.
I just don't think I can move through life knowing that a guy named Steven did this to me.
How could you let this happen, Steven?
Steven! Thank God. I had a horrible feeling I was going to be the only one here.
Want a piece of fruit?
Am I Team Edward? Yes.